All right, Lunger. You go to hell.
Known for his deadly accuracy and mysterious demeanor, Johnny Ringo carved his name into the Wild West. But who really was he? Let's unearth the most interesting outlaw in the Wild West.
I wanted to see if you'd join back up with us.
That's what you got me up here for?
The California years. In the Wild West, whispers linger of a shadowy figure known only as Johnny Ringo. His name evokes intrigue, mystery, and a hint of danger that permeates the rugged landscapes of the frontier. With a reputation filled with secrecy, tales of his exploits echo through the canyons and dusty trails of the Old West. Some say he was a master gunslinger, feared by lawmen and outlaws alike, while others believe him to be a ghostly apparition, drifting through the sands of time. But amidst all that folklore and legend, the true identity of Johnny Ringo remains veiled in mystery. Meet Johnny Ringo, a guy born in the middle of Indiana but raised under California's blazing sun. Life hit him hard when his dad died early. The Ringo family, now broken and worn by sorrow, sought solace on the tough West shores, where dreams stretched wide and challenges were as tough as the dry soil beneath them. In this tough situation, Johnny, the oldest of 5 siblings, took on the responsibility, becoming a makeshift guardian while his mom worked as a seamstress. The Ringo house in San Jose was a battlefield. Tight space, the bite of poverty, and the sting of bias fueled resentment in young Johnny. With an accent betraying his Midwestern roots and dressed modestly, Johnny got into fights with local kids, mocking him for being different. The crowded streets echoed with jeers, but Johnny, strong and stubborn, held onto a spark of resilience fueled by dreams of escaping this place. Yet, the storm within the Ringo house brewed not only from outside forces. Enter the stepfather, a miserable mix of drinking and gambling, a figure Johnny hated with all his heart. In the heart of his family storm, Johnny dreamed of breaking free from the shackles of his violent upbringing. Amid the chaos, Johnny found solace in the world of imagination, a sanctuary crafted from the pages of books and newspapers. The Old West stories called to him, promising freedom, bravery, and endless adventure. Frontier heroes Kit Carson, Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie became his mentors, guiding lights in the darkness of daily struggles. Johnny's interests weren't limited to dusty history trails. Works of Shakespeare, Dickens, and Poe were his companions, providing a break from the harsh realities clinging to him like a relentless shadow. He reveled in the romance, mystery, and horror spun by literary masters, committing passages to memory and weaving them into his eloquent tapestry. Alongside his love for words, Johnny got fascinated with the tools of the West: guns. Under his uncle, a seasoned soldier and hunter, Johnny learned to shoot. His Colt revolver, a loyal companion, became an extension of his identity, a symbol of the self-reliance he aspired to in the vast West. Equally enchanted with horses, Johnny learned to ride and care for them as much as he loved his books and guns. The combination of these skills painted a picture of a young man on the edge of destiny. At 19, Johnny's life took a dramatic turn. Drawn by the exciting allure of Texas, a land rumored to be the forge of opportunity and adventure, he decided to bid farewell to his family and start a journey that would reshape his existence. The destination was uncertain, but the promise of excitement and challenge called to him like a siren song. Armed with determination, a Colt revolver, and dreams resonating with the echoes of the West, Johnny Ringo hopped on a wagon bound for Texas. He left behind the familiar streets of San Jose, the fights with neighborhood kids, and the troubles at home. His farewell was mixed with promise and uncertainty, a mix of emotions mirroring the conflicting currents within him. This was Johnny Ringo, a young man on the brink of manhood, entering the unknown with a heart burning with the desire for adventure. Little did he know that his journey would be the crucible shaping the legend that would echo through the pages of history, forever etching his name into the Wild West annals. The stage was set, the curtain drawn, and Johnny Ringo's tale had just begun. As the wagon rumbled along the dusty trail, Johnny felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The landscape unfolded like the pages of a well-read novel. each chapter promising a new twist in his life's narrative. He couldn't help stealing glances at the horizon, wondering about the challenges awaiting him in Texas. The camaraderie among the men on the wagon offered a sense of kinship Johnny had seldom experienced. Their stories, as diverse as the landscapes they traversed, painted a mosaic of the American frontier, a tapestry of dreams, hardships, and the relentless pursuit of something more. Johnny found solace in shared laughter and tales spun by weathered tongues, forging bonds transcending the transient nature of their journey. Days turned into nights, and as stars painted a celestial canvas above, Johnny lay beneath the vast Texas sky, contemplating the magnitude of the world beyond San Jose. The rhythmic creaking of the wagon and the distant howls of coyotes became a lullaby, cradling Johnny into a realm where the dreams of the West intertwined with the reality of his awakening. Texas, with its sprawling landscapes and untamed spirit, welcomed Johnny like a long-lost son returning to his ancestral home. The air was charged with the scent of possibility, and each sunrise held the promise of new adventure. The work was hard, the days were long, but for Johnny, it was a baptism by fire into the essence of the frontier spirit he had yearned to embody. In the camaraderie of fellow trailblazers, Johnny discovered a brotherhood echoing the tales of the heroes he had admired. Shared laughter around a campfire, the symphony of crickets in the moonlit night. These were the moments breathing life into the pages of his own evolving saga. The calloused hands of his fellow pioneers mirrored his own, etched with the toil of carving a destiny in the rugged terrain of the West. But Texas wasn't just a canvas for Johnny's dreams, since it was also a crucible testing his mettle. The land of opportunity was not without its trials, a harsh mistress demanding resilience and resourcefulness. Johnny's hands, once inexperienced, now bore the scars of labor, proof to his metamorphosis from a dreamer into a doer. The scent of sagebrush and the distant sight of cattle herds became Johnny's daily companions, painting a portrait of a life echoing the tales that fueled his imagination. He learned the dance of survival, the ebb and flow of nature's rhythm, and the camaraderie emerging from shared hardships. As Johnny navigated the labyrinth of life in Texas, he couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought him here. The echoes of San Jose, the fights, the crowded streets, and the turbulent household now felt like distant murmurs in the wind. Texas had become his proving ground, a vast expanse where the trials of his youth transformed into the stepping stones of a nascent legend. And so, the pages turned, each chapter revealing a facet of Johnny's character shaped by the crucible of the Lone Star State. The Colt revolver that had once symbolized his yearning for the West now became an extension of his survival, a trusty companion that spoke volumes of the challenges faced and conquered. As Johnny Ringo rode into the Texan sunset, he carried with him the lessons of the West, the camaraderie of kindred spirits, the resilience forged in the fires of adversity, and the indomitable spirit defining the pioneers of a bygone era. The horizon, once an enigma, now beckoned with the allure of the unknown, and Johnny, a transformed soul, embraced the ever-unfolding narrative of his own Wild West tale. In the heart of Texas, under the expansive sky that seemed to stretch into eternity, Johnny Ringo discovered not just the vastness of the frontier, but the boundless depths of his own potential. And as the stars bore witness to his journey, the legend of Johnny Ringo continued to weave itself into the very fabric of the Wild West, a story resonating with the heartbeat of a land where dreams were as limitless as the horizon itself. The Hoodoo War. In the scorching Texas heat of 1870, Johnny Ringo arrived with dreams beyond claiming just a piece of the Lone Star State, and he hungered for adventure and opportunity. Unaware that Mason County's rugged expanse would become the backdrop for a perilous chapter in Wild West history, a chapter painted in blood, betrayal, and an unwavering quest for justice. Johnny, a young dreamer with stars in his eyes, swiftly found himself amidst ranchers and cowboys, a brotherhood primarily of American descent. Sadly, though, this camaraderie teetered on the edge of conflict, ready to plunge the county into a violent maelstrom, the clash between Americans and German settlers rooted in the area for decades. Accusations whirled like the dust in the wind. Germans accused Americans of theft and violence, and Americans pointed fingers at Germans for alleged crimes. The powder keg ignited, setting the stage for the Mason County War, a feud infamous enough to earn the moniker Hoodoo War. In the midst of this brewing storm, Johnny Ringo unexpectedly found a mentor in Scott Cooley, a former Texas rancher with a heart steeped in contradictions. Adopted by rancher Tim Williamson, Cooley, both respected and feared, was a relentless and ruthless lawman, nursing a grudge against German settlers that added fuel to Mason County's simmering tensions. Cooley, with a code of loyalty and vengeance, took young Johnny under his wing, imparting survival skills for the unforgiving frontier. The spark that ignited the Hoodoo War traced back to February 18, 1875. A mob of about 40 German men stormed Mason's jail, lynching 5 American prisoners accused of cattle rustling. The gruesome act, including hanging and shooting, left scars on the landscape in the American community's hearts. Outraged and seeking justice, Americans formed the Regulators, led by the vengeful Scott Cooley and featuring the likes of Johnny Ringo. The Regulators unleashed terror on Germans, a wave of violence that included killing and scalping anyone suspected of involvement in the lynching or cattle rustling. The cycle of retribution spiraled out of control, with each act of violence escalating chaos in Mason County. One of the Regulators' targets was Deputy Sheriff John Worley, who had arrested Tim Williamson, delivering him to Germans who shot him dead. Cooley and Ringo tracked Worley down, and in a brutal act of vengeance, Cooley shot him through the head and scalped him, displaying the grisly trophy to Germans. Charlie Bader, a German cattleman, also fell victim to the Regulators' wrath, while tension soared and the town of Mason plunged into anarchy. The escalating violence caught the attention of Texas Governor Richard Koch, who dispatched Texas Rangers led by Major John B. Jones to restore order. The Rangers, impartial in their pursuit of justice, faced resistance from both factions suspicious of outsiders meddling in their affairs. The Rangers confronted not only the animosity between Americans and Germans, but also the challenges posed by outlaws, the harsh frontier terrain, and the complexities of the feuding parties. Despite their efforts, Johnny Ringo and the Regulators managed to elude the Rangers for a time. However, their campaign exacted a toll. Bill Williams, a friend of Cooley, fell to a German posse, and Cooley himself was wounded, forced into hiding. The violence persisted, and Johnny Ringo was not without his share of bloodshed, including the killing of James Chaney, a gambler who had betrayed the Regulators' trust. As the Rangers closed in, Ringo's accomplices, Ringgold and Gladden, were apprehended. Ringo, now a wanted man with a bounty on his head, remained at large, embodying the complex persona he had cultivated amid the chaos of the Hoodoo War. Johnny Ringo, a participant in one of Texas's most violent feuds, had become a figure synonymous with the brutality and ruthlessness of the frontier. In the crucible of the Mason County War, he embraced Scott Cooley's code of loyalty and vengeance while forging his own enigmatic personality. Charismatic, intelligent, fearless, yet tainted by ruthlessness, recklessness, and a lingering sense of despondency. The Hoodoo War had woven Johnny Ringo into the fabric of the Wild West's tumultuous history. The tale of this charismatic, yet conflicted character would continue to unfold, leaving a legacy etched in the scars of Mason County, where the echoes of the feud reverberated through the winds of a land where justice was often as elusive as the setting sun on the Texas horizon. In the end, Johnny Ringo, like many caught in the crossfire of frontier justice, was a human, flawed and shaped by the unforgiving landscape he called home. Showdown in Tombstone. Now, picture yourself stepping into the scorching heat of Arizona, where Johnny Ringo swapped one tumultuous tale for another, Tombstone Trouble. In the vast desert canvas, Ringo found his tribe among the notorious cowboys, a diverse crew known for rustling cattle, robbing stagecoaches, and spreading fear over the sun-drenched town of Tombstone. Imagine him standing shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Ike Clanton, Curly Bill Brocious, and Frank Stillwell. Yet, amid this chaotic scene, an ominous figure lurked: Doc Holliday, a card-playing dentist with a knack for turning disputes into deadly duels. Holliday's alliances leaned toward the Earps, the lawmakers trying to bring order to the unruly town. Tombstone, a mining haven throbbing with dreams of wealth and opportunity, also bore the scars of lawlessness. Shootings, brawls, and the unmistakable sound of poker chips provided the soundtrack to the town's disorderly existence. The Cowboys, with Ringo now playing a prominent role, held sway, weaving their influence into the very fabric of the town, from saloon owners to politicians, and even judges. The year 1881 became the crucible for Tombstone's destiny. The stagecoach robbery at Benson, the ambush of Virgil Earp, and the heartbreaking murder of Morgan Earp set the stage for the legendary gunfight at the OK Corral. The Earps, now fueled by vengeance, faced off against the Cowboys in a clash that would etch Tombstone's name into the chronicles of the Wild West. The dusty lot behind the OK Corral, where pistols and shotguns collided with revolvers and rifles. The Earps, Wyatt, Virgil, and Morgan, flanked by the notorious Doc Holliday, faced off against the Cowboys, Ike and Billy Clanton, Tom and Frank McClowry, and Billy Claiborne. Motives differed, the Earps citing a city ordinance, and the Cowboys claiming harassment. In a blink, the air crackled with gunfire, etching history in the grit of the desert. As the smoke dispersed, the lifeless bodies of Cowboys, Billy Clanton, Tom, and Frank McClowry, bore witness to the rapid exchange of bullets in the fleeting minute. Wounded were Virgil and Morgan Earp, and Doc Holliday. The aftermath saw the Earps and Holliday standing trial, only to be acquitted on grounds of self-defense. In the middle of this chaotic dance of lead and gunsmoke, Johnny Ringo stood, a living participant in this tempestuous chapter, his allegiance firmly with the Cowboys. He had witnessed the historic gunfight unfold, narrowly evading the retaliatory wrath of the Earps posse. The challenge he threw at Doc Holliday for a duel echoed unanswered, yet his life had become interwoven with crime, violence, and the forging of both alliances and vendettas. Tombstone Trouble, with its echoes of gunfire and streets stained with blood, painted a vivid chapter in Johnny Ringo's turbulent journey. Amid the controversy and intrigue that surrounded him, he stood as a figure caught in the crossfire of the Old West's most mysterious and legendary feuds. The name Johnny Ringo became etched in the very soul of the West, poised on the edge of a destiny promising more challenges and shadows yet to unfold. In the aftermath of the OK Corral, Ringo found himself navigating the treacherous currents of Tombstone's underbelly. The town's whispers spoke of alliances formed in the shadows, secret meetings in dimly lit saloons, and the ever-present specter of retribution lingering in the air. Doc Holliday continued to cast a long shadow over Ringo's path. Their unfulfilled duel hung in the air like a storm waiting to break, a testament to the unresolved tensions simmering beneath the surface. The law, now keeping a wary eye on both the Cowboys and the Earps, seemed a fragile construct, unable to contain the volatile elements pulsing through Tombstone's veins. For Ringo, the days turned into nights, each one painted with the hues of uncertainty. The camaraderie among the Cowboys masked an undercurrent of distrust and shifting loyalties. In the poker games of the saloons, where fortunes changed hands as swiftly as the desert winds, alliances were forged and broken, and Ringo found himself dancing on the razor's edge of danger. As he paved his way, the ghostly echoes of past conflicts resonated within him. The Hoodoo War, the OK Corral, and the tangled web of allegiances, they all formed the backdrop of a life destined for both glory and tragedy. Ringo, once a dreamer seeking adventure, now walked a tightrope strung between the allure of the outlaw life and the harsh realities of a town teetering on the brink. The image of Johnny Ringo deepened with each passing day, as if the desert winds whispered secrets only he could decipher. Was he a pawn in a larger game, or the master of his own fate? The answer, like the elusive mirages on the desert horizon, remained just out of reach. Ringo's story continued to unfold. The legacy of Tombstone Trouble, with its gunfights, vendettas, and untamed spirit, became the fabric of his existence. The name, Johnny Ringo, echoed through the canyons, leaving a mark as enduring as the scars etched on the face of the desert. As the sun dipped below the jagged horizon, casting long shadows over Tombstone, Johnny Ringo stood at the crossroads of history, a man caught between the echoes of the past and the uncertain path that lay ahead. The legend of Tombstone trouble had imprinted itself on his soul, and the tale of Johnny Ringo continued to unfold, a mesmerizing narrative of a life lived on the razor's edge of the Wild West. The shootout at the OK Corral. Johnny Ringo hadn't been causing a stir in Tombstone for long, but the commotion he'd stirred up was enough to get people talking. As a big shot among the cowboys, a gang that seemed to thrive on trouble, Ringo had made a name for himself in the town. But it was his fiery clash with Doc Holliday, a man just as sharp with cards as he was with a gun, that added a special kind of heat to the already sizzling Arizona air. The tension between the cowboys and the Earps felt like a storm brewing. In a town where power was up for grabs, the cowboys held the reins. With friends in high places, they weren't just a gang. They were a force to be reckoned with. On the flip side, the Earps were newcomers, lured in by the promise of riches. Armed with duty and deputized by the feds, they aimed to bring some order to Tombstone's chaos. Predictably, these two groups clashed in a town where chaos was the unwritten rule. The real drama unfolded in 1881, a year that would be etched into history with the gun smoke of the infamous OK Corral showdown. Act 1 opened with the Benson stagecoach robbery. Masked outlaws left a trail of bodies and a hefty loot. The Earps smelled the cowboys' involvement, waving warrants at Ike Clanton and Frank Stillwell. Tensions flared when the cowboys cried foul, accusing the Earps of collusion and silver thievery. Act 2 thrust the Earps into the crosshairs of the cowboys. Virgil Earp, the town marshal, found himself ambushed on a dark December night. Blood stained the dusty streets, and the cowboys found themselves on the Earps' radar, inviting retribution. The final act plunged Tombstone into mourning. Morgan Earp, the youngest of the brothers, met his end in a billiards hall. A shot rang out, sealing Morgan's fate, and the Earps, now grieving and bloodied, sought justice for their fallen kin. The posse was formed. Wyatt, Warren, Doc Holliday, and a few friends set out to bring the cowboys to account. The OK Corral showdown took center stage on a fateful day in October 1881. The Earps and Holliday, armed to the teeth, faced off with the cowboys, Ike and Billy Clanton, Tom and Frank McClowry, and Billy Claiborne. Mere feet apart, words flew like bullets. Who fired first? The answer vanished in the dust, but the echoes of gunfire lingered. Less than a minute later, the dust settled, etching the OK Corral into Old West lore. When the smoke dispersed, 3 cowboys lay lifeless, and the Earps nursed wounds. Ike Clanton and Billy Claiborne made a run for it, leaving the Earps, Holliday, and fallen cowboys behind. Murder charges loomed over the Earps, but a judge ruled it self-defense, igniting a feud that refused to be extinguished. For Johnny Ringo, the OK Corral wasn't a stage he graced. Instead, he bore witness from the sidelines. As the chaos unfolded, he found himself holed up in the Oriental Saloon. Gunshots pierced the air, prompting him to sprint to the scene. The aftermath unfolded before him, friends sprawled on the dust, Earps nursing wounds, and the chilling gaze of Doc Holliday. A fiery exchange ensued, a duel was set, yet the reckoning never came. The Earps posse arrived, chasing Ringo and his cowboy compatriots from the town's limits. A fugitive now, Ringo joined forces with Curly Bill Brocious, the new face of the cowboys. Their outlaw escapades continued, cattle rustling, stagecoach robberies, and vendettas. Attempts on the Earps and Holliday were thwarted, but not without cost. The Earps posse wounded Ringo, a bullet to the chest, a stark reminder of the OK Corral's lingering shadow. Surviving this chapter of the Old West turbulent tale, Johnny Ringo had woven himself into the tapestry of controversy. He'd stood with the cowboys against the Earps, exchanged heated words with Doc Holliday, and eluded the vengeful posse's grasp. His life danced on the razor's edge of crime and retribution, painting him not just as an outlaw, but as a player in a saga that would echo through the ages. This was Johnny Ringo, and the OK Corral saga was but one verse in his tumultuous ballad. The end of the trail. Johnny Ringo's life had become a twisted maze of loss, betrayal, and relentless pursuit. Tombstone, once a hotbed of chaos and conflict, had cast him out. leaving him to wander the unforgiving Arizona wilderness. The Earps and their posse had decimated his fellow cowboys, and Doc Holliday's taunts lingered like a haunting echo. He found himself adrift in solitude, a shadow of the man he used to be. The vastness of the Arizona desert mirrored the emptiness within Johnny Ringo. He sought refuge in the solitude of caves and canyons, avoiding civilization and the constant threat of enemies. Survival became his only purpose, hunting, stealing, and drowning his sorrows in the bitter taste of whiskey. The weight of loneliness and regret bore down on him, a heavy burden he carried with each weary step. In the desolation, Ringo encountered fellow outlaws, kindred spirits with whom he had shared a common fate. Some were former cowboys, scarred by the vendetta that had ravaged their ranks. Others were newcomers, drawn to the allure of Ringo's infamous name, seeking companionship in the hard landscape. Yet, Ringo, distrustful and despondent, rejected their offers of camaraderie. He chose the solace of his own company, where the numbness of alcohol dulled the memories that clawed at the edges of his consciousness. One supposed ally surfaced in the form of buckskin Frank Leslie, a gambler and gunslinger with his own dark history. Leslie, claiming camaraderie, approached Ringo with a facade of warmth, tempting him with drink and cards. As tales and laughter flowed, Leslie probed Ringo for vulnerabilities, aiming to capitalize on the famed outlaw's downfall. In a dimly lit saloon in Galeyville, the inevitable clash unfolded. Leslie, seeking notoriety, saw an opportunity to eliminate Ringo and seize the credit for himself. Yet, Ringo, though battered by life, proved unyielding. A sudden realization flickered in his eyes as he detected Leslie's treacherous intentions. In a desperate bid for survival, Ringo's hand reached for his gun, but Leslie's shot pierced the air first, finding its mark in Ringo's head. The lifeless body of Johnny Ringo slumped, betrayed in death as he had been in life. Leslie, wounded but victorious, snatched Ringo's gun and belongings, leaving the saloon in haste. The once lively atmosphere was replaced by a haunting silence, the aftermath of a violent encounter that would be etched in the annals of the Wild West. Leslie, aware of the dishonorable nature of his act, refrained from boasting or seeking rewards. His cowardice in dispatching Ringo gnawed at his conscience, and he continued his outlaw pursuits with a shadow of shame. The truth of Ringo's demise remained a secret, concealed by the dusty winds of the Arizona frontier. The discovery of Ringo's lifeless form, his death declared a suicide, sent shockwaves through the region. A note, supposedly written by Ringo, spoke of weariness and a desire for an end. The coroner's verdict echoed the sentiment, attributing the gunshot wound to Ringo's own hand. Unbeknownst to them, the evidence had been manipulated, a calculated move by Leslie to obscure the reality of the cowardly act. News of Johnny Ringo's demise spread like wildfire, triggering a mix of relief, curiosity, and skepticism. Some embraced the idea of his self-inflicted exit, while others suspected the Earps or Holiday of a covert vendetta. Whispers circulated, suggesting that Ringo had fabricated his death, orchestrating an escape from his adversaries. The truth, veiled in ambiguity, remained elusive. Johnny Ringo, a contradictory figure of the Old West, met his end as enigmatically as he had lived. His legacy, painted with strokes of courage and cruelty, lingered on the canvas of the frontier. He had been a friend and foe, a symbol of both heroism and villainy. In the end, he was Johnny Ringo, and this marked the conclusion of a trail defined by controversy and intrigue. The legend of Johnny Ringo. Johnny Ringo, the mysterious outlaw of the Wild West, is a fascinating figure with a life story filled with charm, violence, and secrecy. Born in Indiana in 1850, Ringo's journey through the challenging times of the 19th century was marked by twists and turns that would make him a part of history. After his father's accidental death in 1864, Ringo's family moved to California. The difficulties of life in the West pushed him to leave home in 1869, beginning his transformation from a young boy into a notorious gunslinger. He headed to Texas, where he got involved in the Mason County War, a fierce conflict that shaped his destiny. Leaving a trail of violence behind, Ringo sought refuge in Arizona in 1878. There, he joined the Cochise County Cowboys, a notorious gang known for rustling cattle and causing chaos in the town of Tombstone. Among his companions were Ike Clanton, Curly Bill Brocious and Frank Stillwell. However, a fierce rivalry emerged with Doc Holliday, a gambler allied with the Earps, the formidable lawman of Tombstone. The climax of this conflict unfolded in the historic gunfight at the OK Corral in 1881. Although Ringo didn't directly participate, he witnessed the showdown, fervently supporting the Cowboys. His disdain for Holliday escalated to a challenge for a duel, an ominous precursor to the turbulent days that followed. Suspected by Wyatt Earp of involvement in the attempted murder of Virgil Earp and the fatal ambush of Morgan Earp, Ringo found himself relentlessly pursued. Evading capture, he navigated a world fraught with danger, losing friends and allies along the way. As Ringo's life veered into a desolate chapter, loneliness, despair, and alcoholism took hold. He roamed the vast Arizona wilderness, steering clear of towns and roads, haunted by memories of a turbulent past. His final resting place would be in Turkey Creek Canyon, near Tombstone, a setting drenched in ambiguity. On July 13, 1882, Ringo was discovered lifeless with a bullet wound in his right temple, a gun clutched in his right hand, a bottle of whiskey and a cryptic note left behind, reading, "I am tired of life and I'm going to end it. Goodbye, Johnny Ringo." The official verdict was suicide, yet doubts lingered. His death stirred the headlines, triggering a cascade of emotions ranging from surprise to relief, curiosity to skepticism. Was it suicide? Or did Ringo fall prey to the relentless pursuit of Wyatt Earp or the vengeance of Doc Holliday? Whispers of a potential escape and a new life further muddled the truth. If you thought the Old West was all dust and tumbleweeds, Johnny Ringo's story is sure to shake things up. Let us know in the comments which story you'd like us to rustle up next.